It's the Open Forum on 1540 WADK. Call 846-1028, 846-1028. Now, the Open Forum on 1540 WADK.
And welcome to the Open Forum. My name is Frank Prosnitz, and what we're going to do today is, on Friday, I had the opportunity to go over to the Newport Opera House Theater, which is undergoing a major renovation, restoring it to what it once was, basically, back in the 1870s, 1860s. Actually, was I think it was first built in 1867 as a theater, the Opera House Theater, and went over there, had an opportunity to tour the theater in its current renovated position, and it's quite the project, and it's really an incredible undertaking. And to sit for a while with the executive director of the theater, and I'm going to butcher her name, I'm sure. It's Brenda Nienhouse. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I could be wrong. In any event, we had a great conversation. We talked about the theater's history. We talked about the current project. We talked about the vision for the future. So why don't we listen to that? Brenda, how long have you been involved in this project?
2 years.
And how long was it going before you got involved?
Well, it's been about 15 years total, which is not unusual for a theater.
So I'm going to go back even further than that. Tell me about the history of the Opera House.
Well, we're very blessed here in Newport because this is one of the theaters that was built in 1800s. It was built in 1867. There are very few left in this country.
When I was just a young boy.
Yes. And when it was built, it was called the Opera House because that's what theaters were called at that time, but there was live performance of all types. There were speakers and performers. Harriet Beecher Stowe was on the stage, Frederick Douglass, Duke Ellington, just a wealth of live performers. And then in 1929, it was originally built by a hotelier. It was built to be attached to the hotel, the Perry Hotel. And in 1929, that was bought by a Morgan family, and they redid the interior at that era. It was the time of the movie palaces, so they redid it for a big screen.
Sure, the Providence Performing Arts Center was built as a movie palace by Lowe's.
Yes, and there are just amazing movie palaces around this country. A lot have been torn down, but a lot are still there. So we are going to be restoring the theater to, the exterior will be 1867 era, and then the interior will be 1929.
So does that mean everybody has to come up by horseback?
It's a beautiful building, though. And, when it was built, Washington Square was the heart of the community. So this was an important cultural asset that was on Washington Square. So we're very excited about the impact that this theater will have once we reopen on Washington Square.
How many seats?
There will be 700, 500 on the main floor approximately, and 200 upstairs.
And there's no venue of similar size. You're a few doors down from the Jane Pickens.
Yes, but that's an art movie house. So, we're going to have different roles. We'll be a live performing arts center, so there will be live entertainment year-round. And the Jane Pickens is a wonderful venue to see art films.
Talk to me about the motivation that went into it 15 years ago or so, when someone or some people decided that they wanted to pursue this project.
Well, actually, I'm really impressed because it was a group of businessmen that were looking for a possible venue for a performing arts center here in Newport. And so they decided that the Opera House was the best option. And so they formed a nonprofit and began work on the exterior restoration.
Did they do that with private or public funds at the time?
There was foundation funding, so it was mostly private funding. Then what's been really exciting in terms of the progress of this project is the passage of the cultural facilities bond. So the voters of the state voted to put dollars into supporting theaters around the state, and we were one of them, and we ended up receiving an allocation of $4.2 million towards our project. So that was really significant.
And I assume that's the most that was given to any theater.
I'm not sure it's the most, but it was a very high amount for Newport, so we were really blessed.
And is there other funding going into this?
Yes, we've been fundraising. Actually, we're about 70% of our funding. We have about 650 donors that have stepped to the plate. The McBean Foundation has been wonderful. They not only were involved initially, but have continued to support the project as it's gone along. They've been really a major, wonderful support.
Again, the name of that foundation?
McBean Foundation.
And where are they from?
They're based here.
Is that a family foundation?
Yes, it is. But we're still actively fundraising, but we're just so grateful for the support of this community. We're grateful to the voters of Rhode Island. So it's exciting.
And what's your goal, your fundraising goal?
About $18 million total.
And you're
about 70% there.
Wow, that's pretty good. When did renovation actually begin on the Opera House?
February 2016 is when we did groundbreaking. And, so there'd been the early stages where they redid the facade. When they bought the building, it was a triplex. So, as the history went along in the 70s, the theater was divided up into a triplex. So there were 3 different movie screens in the building. And they had a modern facade over the brick. So one of the first things they did is take that facade off and reveal the beautiful bricks. And then later on in the progress, they took away the interior walls and revealed this beautiful proscenium arch, all this glorious plasterwork, etc.
It's pretty amazing. I remember when Trinity Rep had bought a bank building nearby, and it had a false ceiling in. And they took a look above it and had these incredible murals that were up there.
We have the same thing. What's wonderful is that, when they cover it up that way as opposed to tearing it down or redoing it, it really preserves the history of the building. So we're lucky in that regard.
So is all that going to be exposed now?
Yes.
That's
it's
incredible.
going to be beautiful. It is.
Yeah.
It's just, we've done, paint analysis so we know what the original colors are. So we'll be bringing it back to, it's a cultural gem. It's just a beautiful theater. So we'll be bringing it back to that original beauty, but it'll be a state-of-the-art performing arts center.
So take me back again in terms of the history. So the evolution of this was various performing arts, right?
Yes, initially. Then Movie Palace, and then Triplex Movie Theater.
So it never regained the performing arts
component. When they redid it in 1929, there was a small stage, so there could be vaudeville, and that was very common in this country. When those movie palaces were built, there was a small stage.
Well, the 1920s were huge in this state for vaudeville. I think it was Providence alone had 9 or 19 vaudeville houses.
No, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Well, we have historic tax credits that we qualify. We are restoring the building to National Park standards. Preservation matters to us because when you have a building that is a gem and you are bringing it back to what it was, you should bring it back as much as possible.
And of course, that's in keeping with the city. Much of the city's charm is its history.
I came here from Spokane, Washington, and I oversaw the restoration of the Fox Theater there. It was sort of a mini movie palace. It was a whole block. It was 1,700 seats. But again, we got historic tax credits, and so everything we did was approved by first the state historic office, and then it went to the National Park Service. So we're in the same place here in terms of the historic tax credits. And we've got an architect who really understands the beauty of an historic building.
And does he have a name?
Mohammed Farsan, and he and his wife have a true appreciation of these historical buildings.
And is he local?
He's local,
yeah.
Yes. He's wonderful. We are so blessed. We have an amazing building and design team. Jim Farrar is our general contractor, and Jim's worked on a lot of the historic buildings.
And is that the name of his firm, or is
it's Farrar and Associates.
Okay.
And again,
and we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with the interview.
Barry's Discount Service Center. We offer free diagnosis on all check engine lights, and our exclusive Repair Now, Pay Later program allows you to service your vehicle today and pay 0% for up to 6 months. We have the least expensive labor rates in Newport County. We've helped our customers for over 60 years, and there's no better place to have your vehicle repaired and saved. Ask about our Barry Family Plan and save another 10% off our already discounted labor rate. When your new vehicle's warranty ends, that's where our service begins. Take the drive, you're worth it.
Did you know that Custom House Coffee in Middletown launched a second brand called Veteran Coffee Roasters?
Does it use the same great coffee beans they use every day? I've been brewing it at home for years and love it.
Yes, same beans, but new blends like Recon Roast and Bosun's Blend.
So why a new brand?
Well, Bob Maston, the owner of Custom House Coffee, is a Vietnam vet. He wanted to do something to help veterans and had the great idea of Veteran Coffee Roasters, where $1 per pound goes directly to Wounded Warrior project, Operation Stand Down RI, and other worthy veteran causes.
Can anyone buy the coffee? And where else other than the Aquidneck Avenue location can I buy it?
You can buy online at veterancoffeeroasters.com.
I'm in. What's better than supporting veterans and drinking delicious coffee?
There's wholesale pricing too, so you can buy for your office. Go to veterancoffeeroasters.com for information.
Veteran Coffee Roasters available at Bristol Bagel Works, Portsmouth Public House, Higher Grounds in Richmond, and Tom's Market in Coventry.
If you're a small business, first impressions can make all the difference. With Grasshopper, you get all the features of a professional business phone system on your mobile phone. Choose a business phone number, make calls and send texts, making it easy for you and your customers to stay connected. Even get voicemails transcribed. Set up your account in minutes with no long-term contracts and 24/7 customer support. Make your small business big. Now get $20 off your plan when you visit grasshopper.com/radio. That's grasshopper.com/radio.
From ABC News, tech trends. Running out of ink or toner? One manufacturer is offering a convenient solution. We all know the frustration of a printer running out of ink at the worst possible time, but the makers of Brother brand printers thinks it can do better. It's created Brother Refresh, an automatic delivery service. Brother's Phil Lubell says the system is based solely on your printing habits.
It's monitoring your activity on your printer, taking into account how much you're printing, how much ink or toner you're using.
Lubell says only when you're running low does the service ship that specific ink or toner to your house.
No subscription fees, no contracts to sign. It's as simple as, pay as you need it and as you go.
Brother says it all comes down to ease of use for consumers and for small businesses.
They want one less thing to think about in their lives. Buying ink and toner is one of them, but they don't want to take the time and spend the time doing that.
With Tech Trends, I'm Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Wakefield's information station, 1540 WADK.
And welcome back to Open Forum. My name is Frank Prozens, and we have been listening to an interview I did last Friday over at the Newport Opera House Theater with Brenda Nienhouse. I'll probably pronounce that differently each time I say it, who is the executive director of this amazing project. It's interesting that we have this project going on in Westerly, and you can't help but picture what will happen to Washington Square, and you can't help but picture how, and we talk about it later in the interview, how the Opera House and the Jane Pickens can actually not only coexist but really be supportive of one another, and really create a wonderful atmosphere in that part of the city, and really is a focal point for much of what goes on in non-waterfront and non-festival Newport. I think a tremendous opportunity for some year-round stuff. But by the same token, if you go into the town of Westerly, they have a similar theater built in 1926, the United Theater. They're putting in millions of dollars to renovate that structure along a terrific street with that's a town that's being revitalized. A lot of nightlife is happening in nearby Connecticut and in that part of Westerly, and also they have this incredible festival coming in at September 13th, this Bricks and Murals Festival, where you'll see these incredible murals on many buildings throughout the community. And so they're kind of like bookends for Rhode Island, and playing to different audiences, but maybe sometimes the same. We're small enough here in Rhode Island where people can go anywhere they want in short order to be able to enjoy some of the stuff that's going to go on. So lots of great things happening. So let's get back to that interview.
He's from Newport, and then Mohammed's from Newport. We have a theater consultant from New York. Chris Buckley is his name, and he's done projects all over the world. So we're really lucky because he brings a very high level of expertise. But he also, his mother lives in Jamestown, so he loves this area. Yeah. So we are blessed there. And then we've got, great acquisition. So good team working on it. We have an owner's rep named Chuck Burlinghoff. He used to work for Gilbane and in charge of the whole Eastern Seaboard, and was we're just really fortunate to have him now part of the project as well. So we've got good people, good problem solvers, because it's an old building.
Yeah. And what's an owner's rep do?
They are the liaison between the owner of the building and the person over, that is the company that's doing the restoration, et cetera. But he connects the contractors with the owner. And
this is a nonprofit, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, and 501c3, I guess.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So that anybody who makes a donation knows that
it's a tax deduction.
It's a tax deduction. Where are you in the renovation process?
Well, it's moving. It's really happening. So we started out with preliminary demolition. We had an annex building that had been built to house the boiler, the heating, et cetera, and then there were dressing rooms there, but it was in very, very bad shape. The wind would come through the boards, et cetera. We tore that down and we're rebuilding that. So the first thing was, taking down the annex. And then we've been working on the structure of the main theater. We are going to... There was, in our history, the hotel burned down, and we lost our top floor, the fourth floor of the theater.
So where was the hotel in relationship to the theater?
Oh, it's to the left. And what was interesting is that all across on the second, third, and then fourth level, when it had the fourth level, there were hotel rooms across the front. But they were totally walled off from the theater, so you'd have to go into the main entrance to get into the theater. But so when this happened before I got here, but that wall, they poked through it and discovered all these wonderful hotel rooms and offices and things. So we will be. On the third level, all those old hotel rooms will be offices, and we're keeping the original doors and the door numbers and, the wooden floors and everything. Beautiful. We're so lucky, too. We have beautiful windows in there, some of the original glass, which is just so rare. And then we're going to be adding the fourth level, a mansard roof, which is a roof with windows in it that went all the way across the hotel and the opera house. But behind that, we will be creating a new structure that will be a conservatory atrium and then a rooftop garden. So it's going to be really a wonderful feature that will be added to the building.
So what is the time frame now?
We're hoping to be done for our 150th anniversary season, which is 2018. The goal is summer.
Summer 2018.
But it's an old building, so we'll see.
Yeah, of course. Of course. When you take a look at the music scene and the performance scene in Newport, I guess there really isn't, aside from the Pickens, no indoor venue that would be similar.
There's the Casino Theater, which is used by some groups, etc. It's largely during the school year Salve space, etc. Right. It was originally though built as a dance space.
Yep.
So this was originally built as a performing arts center. That's the difference between the two of them, and it's a larger venue.
How do you see yourself in the summer months competing with the outdoor festivals?
Well, the outdoor festivals are excited about the fact that we are going to be opening, because it gives them an indoor venue to use as well as the outdoor space. Plus, there's the music festival, the Newport Music Festival, which is a classical musical. There's a jazz and folk festival. So we're hearing from the groups here that they're looking forward to having an indoor space. Plus, this is going to be one of those beautiful architectural experiences. So you're there not just for the performance, but you're also surrounded by this amazing.
I spent 10 years as editor of the Business News, and I remember complaints going back from concerns from people at the Newport Jazz and Folk Festival, how the festival was basically contained to Fort Adams. At the end of the day, everybody went away. Newport didn't take advantage of it. Then in recent years now, that's changed, where particularly the Folk Festival flows out into these, I'll call them after parties, if you will, but also events at night. And I think there's that potential, surely, with this theater. And then the other thing that happened was Bridge Fest.
Yes, connecting the two.
Right.
There's been discussion with the Newport Festivals Foundation regarding a possible emerging jazz artist series that could happen year-round.
Sure.
And, they're already doing amazing things in the schools educationally year-round here. Yep. So there's an ongoing presence. And, Newport has just meant so much to the jazz scene that, there's always going to be that Newport connection. So they're excited.
Yeah, no, that would be very exciting indeed. What do you envision happening in here once you reopen?
All kinds of art forms. Music classical, music folk, music jazz, music world, headliners, dance, Alvin Ailey, modern dance, classical dance, world dance, theater, musical theater, drama, opera, but not all opera. And then speakers, comedians, other things. I think there was a Wild West show here when it first opened, so not that, but just we're really looking at being open to a range of, and we're in right now gathering input from the community in terms of what they want to see on the stage here, so that we're listening to what this community wants. Another really important part of what we are, about 20% of our anticipated programming is youth and family and educational. And we've got an education task force made up of leaders in the superintendent of the public schools, from Solvay, artists, arts teachers that have been part of the school, and a broad spectrum of people to help us determine what the needs are and how best to build our education programming as well. So.
How much is the town itself involved, meaning town government?
Well, they're excited about what's going on, particularly excited about the impact we're going to have on Washington Square, and then how that's going to connect to Broadway and all the great work that's been done there with the restaurants and the streets, etc. And we did an event this past spring called A Theater Happening in Washington Square, and it was sort of a celebration of our role in Washington Square, but also showcasing the various art forms that might be on the stage. So we had jazz at Bank Newport in the venues around the square. We had theater at the Jane Pickens. We had flamenco dance at the Colony House. We had young people at the theater, so our theater. So it was a celebration of, and I think the city really is excited about that.
Do you see where you'll be able to do things in connection with the Jane Pickens?
We see ourselves as having very complementary roles. We're both cultural anchors for this square and for this downtown area. So we have collaborated a couple times. We did an event at the Jane Pickens last year, and then obviously the theater happened.
I mean, it's interesting because you don't usually find, at least in Rhode Island, two theaters that are within walking distance of each other.
There were 4 here, I think, or maybe even more than that at one point. So this was kind of a little mini theater district.
But if you go to New York City, you find it all the time.
All over the place. And, I live in St. Louis, and I was there when they were redoing the Grand Center, and they called it sort of like the Little Broadway. All the shows that, when St. Louis was this gateway to the West, and it was sort of the last major eastern city before you went west, all the Broadway shows were there. So there was a beautiful Fox Theater. There were probably maybe 10 theaters at one point, and they've got 4 or 5 of them now that are up and going again, and it's just changed the economy there. And that's the other thing. When a theater is restored and gets back up and running and is a vital part of a community, it adds an energy, and the economic impact is really significant. We saw that in Spokane. I know the same thing's going to happen here.
How about employees? Any estimates on how many people you'll be able to employ?
Well, during construction, they anticipate about 181 jobs,
right.
And I think the number that we had an economic impact study done, about 15 million economic impact. Once we're up and going, we're looking at about 1.6 a year. But in terms of what we're looking at for employees here, 5 probably full-time, then a number of part-time, and then a lot of hourly that tied to production.
And I also would suspect a lot of volunteer opportunities.
Absolutely. There's just, and we've already are seeing that. We've got, if you ever go to our website, there's a list of thousands of people that have gotten behind this project. So we're just so grateful to all of them.
Tell me about yourself. What got you interested? Well, first of all, your education.
Well, I went to the University of Michigan. I have, believe it or not, I have an undergraduate in Latin American Studies. I was very interested in international relations at that time. Went into a Peace Corps program in Nicaragua, and it was a music program. And I was supposed to go to Nicaragua and teach in their conservatory and play in their national symphony.
And I love to end with a little suspense. We're going to come back to the interview and learn a little bit more about what's going and what's going to happen at the Opera Theater, and a little bit more about the executive director, who is Brenda Nienhouse. That's probably the third way I pronounced it yet this morning. In any event, we're going to be back in a couple of minutes.
The Newport County Chamber of Commerce encourages you to think local, whether you are looking for your favorite restaurant, a local store with all the best brands, your neighborhood florist, or a place to dock your boat. The Newport Chamber's directory has all of those and more. Make the Chamber directory your go-to search engine for business names, locations, and phone numbers. Click on eBook Directory at newportchamber.com for over 1,100 local business listings throughout Newport County.
values, and selection. Always the best of both at Fifth Ward Liquor. Seth and his staff will prove it to you. Check out these great values. Kettle 1 Vodka 175s, now $40.99. Seagram 7 and VO Whiskey 175s, now $20.99. J&B Scotch 175s, $30.99. More unbeatable values at Fifth Ward. Catena Malbec, $17.99. Romana Sambuca, 750s, $25.99. Chateau Montaud Rosé in a 3-liter bag in the box, just $25.99. And Founders All Day IPA in 15-pack cans, only $16.79. And don't miss these new additions to the great selection. Blanton Bourbon is now in. Also Guinness Irish Wheat, Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and Shipyard Pumpkin Ale. Fifth Ward Liquor, 695 Lois Thames, Newport. Fifth Ward will be open on Labor Day from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m.
Fun starts quicker with Fifth Ward Liquor. You better take the Fifth.
Many feel that there's nowhere to turn for good advice on senior living. On Aquidneck Island, people turn to the local resources that's been advising and supporting seniors for over 20 years. Blenheim Newport, a benchmark senior living community. Consider a complimentary home visit by Blenheim professionals that offer support and information on a number of challenges common to aging. Gather your family and get all the information you need for senior living options on Aquidneck Island. Call 849-0031 or visit online at blenheimnewport.com.
Humphrey's Building Supply, 1540 WADK, and the all-new Mix 99.3 present the Newport County Chamber of Commerce Business of the Week.
Jason & Co. is the Newport shop to visit to add sparkle to your life. Featuring over 50 fabulous jewelry designers, Jason & Co. will become your favorite place to find that showstopper piece of jewelry. Jason & Co., 182 Thames Street, or find them on Facebook.
Think, be, and support local. Start with this Business of the Week.
Are you tired of leaky, drafty steel basement bulkhead doors? Well, it's time to take a look at Clam Door. It's unlike anything you've seen before. Clam Door is 1/3 the weight and is built here in Rhode Island by master boat builders who know how to build to weather any storm. Clam Door is owned and marketed by a reputable, well-known area business, Humphrey's Building Supply. Scott Humphrey invites you to experience his company's real passion for products built right. Go to clamdoor.com for more information.
Flowers are beautiful, but they become even more so when carried by people who are committed to ending Alzheimer's. At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's, hundreds of thousands carry different colored flowers, signifying their connections to the disease. And we walk so that one day there will be a white flower for Alzheimer's first survivor.
Join them September 17th at Fort Adams State Park. Register at alz.org/walk.
DUI defense, divorce, misdemeanor or felony criminal charges, child custody disputes. If you or someone you know are facing such legal challenges, then put experience on your side and have the Flanagan Law Offices help you defend your rights. Frank Flanagan is a veteran trial attorney and a Navy JAG veteran who's been helping individuals in criminal courts and family courts for over 20 years. Frank Flanagan can help you. The Flanagan Law Offices are located with Joe Houlihan's old firm of Houlihan, Manahan, Morrissey & Kyle at 195 Broadway in Newport at the building many of you may remember as the former Broadway Post Office. If you're in a legal battle, you need a fighter in your corner. The Flanagan Law Office can fight for you. Call Frank Flanagan at 849-3337 or check out their website at lawyernewportri.com. DUI defense, divorce, misdemeanor or felony criminal charges, child custody disputes. The Flanagan Law Offices can protect your rights.
This won't be the first time I've broadcast a Travel Minute in reaction to an incident of terrorism against civilians overseas, and unhappily it probably won't be my last. With today's RM World Travel Minute, I'm Rudy Maxa. A best friend of mine plans to visit Barcelona, but the mowing down of pedestrians there 2 weeks ago gave her pause. Should you feel safe visiting anywhere in Europe? With 24-hour news networks running videos of incidents around the world, you could be forgiven for thinking we're in the darkest of times. In fact, the number of fatalities from terrorist attacks in Europe between 1970 and 1990 is considerably larger than the number of those killed between 1990 and now. Consider this. Between 2000 and 2014, more than 3,000 people died in terrorism incidents in the United States. Never mind the number murdered with guns in the U.S. around that same time. More than 153,000 victims. So once again, I say go. The odds are infinitesimal that you'll be a victim of terrorism in Europe. Statistically, you're more likely to die by lightning strike, a slip in a tub, or a kick from a donkey. Info and more at rmworldtravel.com.
This is John DePietro. Stay tuned. Coming up at 1, the John DePietro Show will open up the phone lines and talk to you right here on AM 1540 WADK.
And welcome back to Open Forum. My name is Frank Prezant, and we have been listening to an interview I did on Friday at the Opera House, the Newport Opera House on Washington Square, talking with Brenda Nienhouse, probably my fifth pronunciation. She's the executive director. It is pretty remarkable when you take a look at the work that they have. They're saving a lot of the old materials so that they can, in fact, when they restore this, when they complete the project, they'll complete it with many of those things that, in fact, were actually there previously. They are grading the seats so that you're not going to have a bad seat in the 700-seat theater, which is a really nice-sized theater. If you want to put that in perspective, that's probably as big or bigger than many Broadway theaters. They don't have to be huge. We have P-PAC at 3,200 seats, but everything else gets smaller. 700 is a nice number for lots of different things. There'd be a balcony. There, just really a really beautiful setup, and I think just a really incredible addition to. I only can call an addition now to what's going on in Newport. So let's listen to the next part of the interview. This may actually take us to the end. I'm not sure.
And I got there, and neither existed. And so I ended up, by the second year, we formed an orchestra. We recruited people from the United States and Europe, and we got the conservatory done. We got the funding for it, made it happen. And I discovered I liked arts administration, so that's how I ended up going into it, with a master's in performance.
And what instrument did you play?
Clarinet.
You still play?
Not much anymore.
I played clarinet, but my uncle told me I should play football instead. So there you go. And so, when you decided to go into arts administration, how did you take that path?
I went back, got my master's. I managed the university orchestras at the University of Michigan, and then I was really blessed. The League of American Orchestras, which is the major service organization for orchestras, had formed a fellowship program, and they selectively picked people around the country, and I was placed with 3 orchestras during the year of the fellowship, and then I was hired by the Los Angeles Philharmonic, so I worked there for a number of years. And an amazing time, but Leonard Bernstein was there, and Michael Tilson Thomas, and Simon Rattle, and Carla Maria Giulini. These are all music directors and conductors, and they've all gone on to major things, but it was a blessing.
And you said in Seattle you were involved in a similar project.
Yes,
in Spokane.
At Fox Theater, which won a National Preservation Award. A theater that has 1,700 seats, beautiful Art Deco building. The architect was the same person, Robert Reamer, who did the Old Faithful Lodge, a lot of the old parks. And he took a lot of the natural beauty of the area and incorporated it in all his buildings. So our building aluminum was a big deal. It's a mining area, so there's beautiful aluminum. There were water images because of the Spokane River. It's just absolutely exquisite. But this is a very different building. This is not so much Art Deco. It's a more classic, clean, love. Art Deco tended to be a little bit, effusive and sometimes more than effusive, but this is elegant and just so lovely. I'm so excited about what it's going to be like once we get.
Well, it's probably a reflection of the area of the country.
I think so, very much so.
I think when you go out west, what's history to them is modern to people out here.
That's exactly right.
So that's different. So what brought you here? What got you?
This project, I came because I saw this theater. I knew what had happened in Spokane once we restored the Fox and how powerful that was as a force for change, positive change in Spokane. And I knew what this would mean if we could get this. I wanted to get this project done for Newport.
So did you respond to an ad or?
They did a national search.
Yeah. And had you been here before this?
No, never. Never.
Okay.
Except I knew of the Newport Jazz Festival. I mean, I'm a jazz lover.
Yeah,
and
so am I.
so you know, that festival has had international repercussions in so many positive ways. When I was an undergraduate at the University of Michigan, there was an outdoor jazz festival modeled after Newport. So I saw Miles Davis, all the best jazz artists. But that probably would never have happened had not George Wein started what he did here.
Sure, you know, in his Storyville club out up in Boston, where it all began, but more with an incredible vision.
And I've been to a number of the events, the heads of jazz festivals from all over the world that come for the Newport Jazz Festivals, just out of excitement and appreciation for George and this.
And the ability to attract so many great artists. And also to identify so many emerging artists.
Absolutely.
Which I think is maybe even more remarkable.
I think so too, and so important. It's just such a great art form for this country.
In researching, and I'm sure you researched the building, there must be some great stories and things that happen.
There are.
Well, can you share some of those?
I would rather that we have some surprises for people as we go ahead.
You can tell me one.
Oh, let's see. All right, I'm going to say one thing. One of the things that most theaters have ghosts. In most theaters, I don't know if you ever have ghost lamps on the stage. In Spokane, we did. And, you know, we have someone, this is not a past story, but it kind of is. There's someone here that was involved with one of the Ghost Hunter shows on TV. They're looking to see what might be from spirits in the past be part of the theater now. So that's a little bit of a story. But it's not what you wanted, probably.
Well, it's getting there. How about some of the big names that played here over the years?
Well, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Duke Ellington. We had Mary Pickford. Yeah, there was Sousa's been here. Oh, let's see. Was it the Buffalo Bills Wild West show? I think was it. So
quite a variety, and you look for that same kind of variety.
Yes.
And you talk about, I think I saw you talking about a lecture series also.
Yes.
Yeah, and what form would that take?
You know, we haven't decided exactly. There's been talks of some of the TED Talks possibly, or that type. You know, I think one of the things that's remarkable about Newport is there is a history of intellectual discourse. So the Redwood Library has a series. The Newport Art Museum has a series. There's even tied to the restorations efforts. Last year there was a big thing on history underwater and the you know where we are with the sea level rising and the impact it's going to have on history. So I think being able to provide another venue for some of that, I think is going to be really important. We also know that this is a major sailing area, so being able to be a space where there can either be live streaming of some of the sports events or, some of the award ceremonies and things like that. So really, we also know that the building will be a space where there can be business meetings or if there are conferences or conventions. It's another venue that people can use where you can get married, where you can celebrate some of your life.
So the business meetings are really interesting. I don't know if there is a venue that will be of this size in the city for conventions.
There's several places that call themselves convention centers. I think the Marriott is very much has a space and a focus on conventions. What was the Hyatt is now Gurney's, has space for conference meetings and things like that. But I think what the interest is, and we've heard this from the Discover Newport Convention and Visitors Bureau, that they really are looking forward to our space opening up because it expands very much what amenities are there for conferences.
Well, in 700 seats is most of these hotels can't fit 700 seats.
To have a stage and to have state-of-the-art equipment too really makes a difference. Now in Spokane, what we did is we built in broadband high-speed internet, so we could connect real time without delay to the world. So we did things where we'd have somebody maybe in Iceland and somebody in Bloomington, Illinois, and somebody on the stage, or somebody in Hawaii, where we could pull things together. So it was kind of neat.
Do you see yourself having affiliations with the colleges and universities?
Well, we already have had a number of interns from the various schools, but also there's been classes that have tied into what's going on here, architectural classes, or we have already established a relationship, and we really want that to be ongoing. The other piece that I haven't talked so much about is for a lot of the phenomenal cultural organizations here, we are another venue for performance. So the Island Movie Company has been in ongoing discussions with us about using our stage for some of their performances. We know that the Music Festival is interested. They're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary next summer. There's the Newport String Project, which is a youth program. They're interested. There's a youth theater program.
And we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we'll finish up. We have just a couple more minutes of the interview, and then maybe update you on some news that's been going on that be interesting to listen to. Anyway, back in a couple of minutes.
Count on One Stop True Value, Connell Highway, Newport, to help you keep your driveway in good condition. Right now, a 4.75-gallon bucket of Drive Coat 500 filler and sealer is only $19.99 while supplies last. It's designed to improve the surface appearance of asphalt pavement and to help fill in small surface cracks. Don't miss this great bargain of the month now at One Stop True Value. Behind every project is a True Value.
The battle for women's right to vote was fought all over America, and it included some unlikely combatants. On Wednesday, September 6th, you can hear the fascinating story of gilded suffragists, how Alva Belmont refashioned the women's suffrage movement, from historian and author Dr. Joanna Newman. The lecture starts at 6 p.m. at Rosecliff. Learn more and register in advance at newportmansions.org, or you can call 401-847-1851. A message from the Newport Mansions.
Play slots this September at Newport Grand and earn 5 times the rewards points every Tuesday with bigger giveaways and better rewards than ever before. You won't want to miss it, so be sure to use your rewards card every time you play and watch the rewards roll in. Only at Newport Grand Casino.
Summer might be ending, but a better you is just beginning. You need Beauty Rest innovation and technology for high-performance sleep. Find it for less at the Beauty Rest Labor Day sale, with great deals on select Beauty Rest mattresses. Plus, get a free box spring or savings up to $600 on a Beauty Rest Smart Motion base. Find a retailer at beautyrestretailers.com. Get your Beauty Rest at Bedding Center in Attleboro.
Stay tuned. It's the John DePietro Show coming up this afternoon from 1 to 5 right here on AM 1540 WADK.
And welcome back to Open Forum. My name is Frank Presence. We've been listening to an interview with Brenda Nienhouse, who is the executive director of the Newport Opera House Theater, in the midst of a major renovation. It's a project that goes back maybe 15 years to its beginning, and now is maybe a year away from actually opening on Washington Square. It's a really ambitious renovation and an exciting renovation. One of the things that we talk a little bit about, but we don't get into real deeply, is the economic impact of these kinds of things, these kinds of theaters to any particular community. And when you think about what happens to Washington Square now, where you have the Jane Pickens, and you'll have the Opera House, and there's a new restaurant going up across the street, and you have this beautiful setting. You're within walking distance of the waterfront. You're within walking distance of Broadway. All of these things that are there that can add a level of excitement, tremendous resources for the community, and just kind of takes that area and elevates it to a different part. Doesn't mean that our other areas, the Hall of Fame and the theater there and the things that go on aren't important, don't have things that excite. But this is in a concentrated area with theaters that you can walk virtually from one to the other, and I think it's a very exciting development. In terms of the economy, it's for every theater ticket that is sold, I forget the multiplier that's used, the money that goes back into the economy, into restaurants, into parking, into babysitters, into gas stations, all of these things. It generates some substantial income for and opportunities for a lot of entrepreneurs in the area, for existing businesses. Lots of things happen. I remember when I was involved with the Greenwich Odeum in East Greenwich, and when we first opened, going way back, when we first theater went in, the restaurant across the way, which had been Alias Smith and Jones, was renovated into a nice restaurant. There was a coffee house opened up, another restaurant. The post office became the Post Office Cafe, and so there lots of important things happened that help with economic development, and that's a much smaller project than this was, and I see this has been pretty exciting to the community. So let's listen to the last part of this interview, and we'll be back in probably just a couple more minutes.
There's already strong interest and we have dates.
And I'm sure statewide you've got the Youth Philharmonic, you've got all of those things.
Trinity Rep's interested.
What a nice outlet for them.
Yeah, and so as we get closer to opening, we're really firming up a lot of these relationships.
One of my thoughts when I mentioned colleges and universities was actually Bryant and its Export Assistance Center, that they do a lot of teleconferencing of international pieces. And
that's fascinating.
And that being way up in the northwestern end of the state, this being down here and having access to local businesses here that may have some international affiliations.
That's good to know.
Economic impact that you perceive?
Well, I already gave you some of the numbers in terms of the survey that was done. We know construction is a big economic impact. We know annually the 1.5 is what is projected, but beyond that, just knowing what our presence will do in terms of adding vitality to Washington Square. We are our main lobby in our building is going to be on the second level, and we've opened up the original theater lobby, adding in the space in front, and so it's an expanded lobby area, but also all those wonderful windows that looked out over Washington Square. It's brought light in, but at night when there's activity going on, there'll be light streaming out, into the square. So that we know, we saw that in Spokane. It really changed the neighborhood where we were. We saw hotels come up. We saw restaurants and stores and even apartment buildings and things develop.
No, you're not going to have a restaurant-ending theater.
No, we will not. We'll have concessions in a bar, and in the upstairs we'll have an indoor-outdoor bar, that can be used year-round inside, and then when the 3 seasons when we use the outdoors as well. Stone Acre Pantry is moving in, and they're in the process of opening. And then there's going to be another restaurant, an Asian restaurant, about a block down from that. So what we also know is that we're easily within walking distance of Broadway, so supporting all those restaurants there, connecting Broadway, connecting Washington Square with the waterfront area and things is really going to be significant.
So here's a big issue that I look at most downtown areas, that's parking.
That's always going to be a question, and we have a lot of parking lot too. We've done a study, and we'll make sure that as we approach opening, that we really communicate with everybody where all the parking is. There is parking actually at the visitor center. That's an easy walk. Or if you look at Shuttle, we're also looking at valet parking. We had the same issue when we opened in Spokane because it was downtown. Everyone, where are you going to park? So we let everyone know, and ultimately everyone quickly found their favorite place. So it was, but there's parking here.
Touched a lot of subjects. Anything you want to add? Anything that you think we've missed?
Just how we're expanding the stage inside, so it is really. We've had a lot of performers come in as they visited. We had Wilco here when they were here for the jazz or folk festival, and every artist that comes in, their eyes light up, and they, we just hear such positive comments about how much they're looking forward to performing on our stage and what an asset this is to Newport.
How can people get involved?
Check out our website. Give us a call.
And what's the website?
The website is www. You can go any number of ways. I think you can connect, but it's operahouseri.org.
And that's the interview. And so a couple of things I wanted to touch on that, excuse me a moment, touch on that. In fact, we talked a little bit about the economic development, but let me give you some of the hard facts that they provide in some information that they have. Actually, it's on their website, and it's well worth going to. But they're suggesting that during the renovation, they are suggesting that the economic impact to be calculated over $15 million, supporting 181 jobs in Newport County. These are construction jobs. It says the Newport Opera House Theater and its audiences will generate $1.6 million per year in new direct and indirect economic activity once the theater is open and presenting. including supporting 54 jobs in Newport County with an annual payroll approximating $367,359. Now, those 54 jobs are not full-time jobs. I think she said that they'd have maybe 4 or 5 full-time jobs, and the others being part-time. And I'm not sure whether or not they include all of the actors and musicians that come in. It talks about talks about in here some of the long-term economic impact of the wholesale trade, which is all the things that theater is buying in the community to support the activities that they're doing there. That goes from hotel rooms for performers, for hospitality for performers. It goes to merchandise to support the concession stands and all of the other things that go on in the theater. It talks about eating and drinking establishments, general retail stores. One of the things that I always got it was always troublesome to me in terms of the Odeum is that when we would open up and we'd have a performance at night, the town would close down. There would be no place for people to go. So people wandered Main Street a little bit. They go to dinner, they wander Main Street, they come to the theater, and there's no place to go. And I always thought that it would have been to the advantage of many of these retailers to stay open a little later so that people could enjoy and or at least could learn about the opportunities, the things that were offered in terms of the business community. Same thing goes for here, that in fact people might not buy that very moment, but they may find a reason to come back and purchase and frequent the different shops. It talks about the health and educational services. And I think a big thing here that they talk about that's really important is what they can provide for the educational community in different programs they bring in. The other thing that I think is important beyond the entertainment factor is the opportunity for certain lecture-type programs. I've often thought author programs and things like that would be so impactful in a particular community. They also talk in here a little bit about when they talk about the arts in general in Rhode Island, and the arts nonprofits in Rhode Island, according to this, account for about $324 million in direct and indirect spending in Rhode Island. And when the creative and arts-driven businesses are included in the calculations, the creative sector accounts for 12.7% of all employment. And I'm sure that's a bit of a stretch because all the theaters themselves, if you take a look at the employment within the theaters, it's not going to come near that. But certainly there are a lot of things because of what the theaters do. It generates other activity at a variety of places around those theaters, and in fact that leads to certain employment. The proximity of the Jane Pickens, I think they both elevate one another. The Pickens they do a lot of movies, some live performances. There's plenty of room for all of that to go on. Plenty of room for other theaters that operate in the community. Just makes this community more vibrant. I was very excited about the trip through there. I was very excited about what I saw in terms of the theater and what they're doing, and particularly thrilled that they are being very respectful of the historical nature of that theater. I've seen others that have been built, and history seems not to have mattered. Here it matters a lot, and what you'll see is a theater rebuilt in terms of the time when it was a thriving theater, and will likely be a thriving theater once again. A couple of other quick notes on the news side, which I thought was really interesting. It has nothing to do with the theater, but one note: yesterday, the New York Daily News, a major publication, was sold to the group that owns the Chicago Tribune and the LA Times, further consolidating the media industry. Their website gets 25 million hits a month. And with that, we're done for today. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we're going to catch up with you tomorrow.
This has been the Open Forum. The views and opinions expressed are not necessarily those of station management or its advertisers. Your views and opinions are welcome at 846-1020.